I'm going to be doing the first farmers market that I've done an entire year. And we don't do farmers markets regularly anymore, but there's a new farmers market in downtown Kelowna that started, and I'm really excited about it because it's actually, I used to be on the board of directors for the farmers market, and I've always wanted to see that happen. And I was down there last week with my wife and daughter, and it was great, and I thought, oh, this would be fun to do one. So we're just kind of temporarily signed up, so we're just going to do one. But I thought this would be a great opportunity to make a video about all the gear and equipment you need to do a farmer's market. So I've actually gone out and dug out this stuff out of my basement and made sure I had everything that I need, so I figured I'd show you guys what exactly you need to bring to a market. First, I want to show you guys something that I have in the back of my truck. It's still in the back of my truck, even though we don't do markets regularly anymore, but we always had this list taped to the back of the truck, which just talks about all the equipment that you need to bring. And this here was sort of just a checklist, so that once I loaded up the truck, then I would just go through this list and make sure that everything was there, and then I'm good to go. Because I can't tell you how many times I had gone to market and realized, oh my god, I forgot the wooden boxes, or I forgot the cash box, or whatever it was. So that is my checklist. And in fact, I'm gonna make sure I double check that checklist even though I'm taking everything by bike before I go. So I'm actually gonna do the farmer's market by bike the way I used to do it. When I started my farm 8 years ago, I used to do everything by bike. And it was my business was a lot smaller then, but it was also very focused to just downtown restaurants. So it was, I wouldn't say it was easy to do, but it was more logistically practical than it is now. But anyways, this market is downtown, so it's actually more practical for me to go down there by bike, because then I can just go down, I can park my bikes at my stall, I can set everything up. Whereas normally you gotta drive, if you drive, you gotta go down, unload your gear, and then go park your car somewhere, make your way back. It's kind of a hassle, and then when you leave, you gotta do the same thing. When you do it by bike, you're in and you're out. So I really like that. And it's fun, and I'm not bringing a ton of stuff, and I'm mostly bringing greens, so this stuff is light. So needless to say, let's start from the beginning, maybe what's the most important pieces of gear you need. So one of the most crucial pieces of gear, well, you pretty much have to have it to do a farmer's market, is a market canopy. This is one of my canopies. I used to have two side by side. Now, for tomorrow, I'm just gonna have one because it's simple, we don't have a ton of stuff, and it's easier to do it by bike when you have one. Needless to say, this brand is called Impact Canopy, and these are made in Canada. And I actually find these to be the best market canopies around. I've gone through a number of them, and you know, you need these things to be pretty robust, because if you're doing markets every week for half the year, you're putting it up and taking it down maybe 40 days or something of the year. So that's a lot of wear and tear, so they need to be solid. This is a 10 by 10 canopy, folds out, and when I get to a market, it's the first thing that I set up. So I don't want to have it packed in the back of my truck or anything like that. I want to have it accessible. It's the first thing I set up. And you know, if it's raining too, if you go to a market and it's raining, you want to get your shelter up right away before you start unloading any other gear. Next piece of gear that's fairly important is your fold-up tables. So there's a variety of brands out there that you can use. That is a single table, and then this is a fold-up one. So that one folds up into 8 feet, I believe, total. And so tomorrow I'm going to use this table and this table. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to set up tomorrow's market. I kind of just will figure it out when I get there. When I used to do markets every weekend, I always had the same standard setup every time. It would be just maybe arranging the product in different ways depending on what I had. Now these are display boxes, so these are sort of do-it-yourself display boxes. I bought these at an auction a long time ago, and I use these to put greens or whatever various product will fit in there. Some product will just go on the tables, like my baskets of cherry tomatoes, but all my greens and shoots and stuff like that will go in these boxes. I fashioned on these little holders for my labels that go on there, and I'll show you those next. So I always have these 2 totes of stuff, various stuff when I'm going to the market, This one here is the tablecloths that I'm going to set up, and I'll also put my cash box in there, but I don't put that outside until the day I'm leaving. In this tote here, I've got this is a bunch of like labels for produce, you know, the prices on there and all that kind of stuff. These little things here, these are the parts that fit into this, and then a label will stick onto that. So I'll have a little label that goes in there, and it holds on the box like that. So that's the basis of my display. I've also got these little vertical stands too that can hold labels, you know, depending on how I arrange everything. And then of course you've got to have your brand, your banner. This is something that every market vendor is going to set up at some point when they do a market stall. So this is the original Green City Acres banner, canvas banner that's printed. You know, these things cost probably less than $100 to print. Now there's so much printing on demand, you can get these printed fairly cheap, but better quality ones last longer. This one's actually screen printed, so this one's lasted years. This piece of gear is a riser, and so this allows me to create vertical space on my market booth. So when I set that up, I'll actually put the tablecloth over top of it as well, and so it creates just sort of a tiered appearance at the market booth. And so I have two of those. So of course you've got your cash box. I always have the same float in the cash box all the time. So I actually got a piece of tape on there that says $250. I've got 200 in 5s, 30 in 2s, and 20 in 1s. And I don't need any other change because all my prices at my market are really standardized. Everything is either $3 or $5 or $10. So it makes making change really easy. But yeah, that's my float. You know, you always got to have 5s, a lot of 5s, because people always give you 20s basically. So you got to have a good amount of float in there. One thing that's really important to bring to a market is some kind of weights. So I just use my row bags. These are to hold your canopy down in case wind comes. I only need to bring 2 because I know I'm set up next to a guy tomorrow who has some himself. So we'll tie our tents together, and then I'll just bring 2 to be on the outside. But these are important because a wind gust can come along and take your canopy. And of course, last but not least, you gotta have a bunch of produce to take to market. And the way I do it is I always load up my gear the night before, and then the produce is the last thing that gets loaded up in the morning. And that, you know, of course you're not going to leave your produce outside or in a truck all night. But on the bike setup, what I'm going to do is lock down all my gear, how I'm going to have it to transport in the morning. Usually, well, the way I used to do it with these dual trailer setups is have all my gear on this trailer, and then this one will be all produce in the morning. And when I do the truck or the van, I load all the gear ahead of time. So the night before, market canopies go down, and then the produce, the totes just come in here and stack up on top of everything. So loading up in the morning is really fast. It's just throw, you know, 15 or 20 totes in the truck or on the bike, and then you're gone. So that's it. So that is all the core gear you want to bring to a market. And before I close up, I might as well just explain, because I know somebody's going to ask. I'll just do a quick explanation of my bike setup and show you that. I've done a previous video on it before. Click up here if you want a more detailed explanation. But just real quickly, we use these long tail bikes. They're set up with a extra cycle, and they are also set up with a Bionics electric assist, and so we can, it's just basically easier to pedal. And then our trailer, these are custom built trailers. They're steel frame with an aluminum, whatever you call that thing, grate on the top. And the cool thing about this trailer here, it has this modular arm that if you just want to pull this trailer on its own, it hooks up to there and then attaches to the back of the bike, or then I can put on this arm so that I can pull it behind another trailer. The trailer hitch itself is just a ballpoint hitch, and I had a guy do a custom weld there with this plate to hold the hitch in place. So we have two of these bikes. This is the other one. This one's just a surly big dummy, so it's a fully put together long tail bike. So that is my farmer's market gear. I'm gonna load this stuff up, get ready for the market. Maybe I'll see some of you guys there tomorrow. Have a good one.